Hello, it's Barnaby here, and today I am recording this video in a very beautifully sunny Birmingham, as you can see behind me. This video is about outsourcing, and I made it because I meet a lot of people who are very interested in outsourcing, particularly to virtual assistants. But they often ask me a question, which is, how do you work out when to outsource? So in other words, how do you know what tasks you should outsource, and what am I best doing myself, and what am I best sending to someone else? Well, in order to answer that question, I've come up with 3 very simple tips on when you should outsource. So the first time that I think you should consider outsourcing instead of doing something yourself is if you can get it done at a lower hourly rate by outsourcing it than if you did it yourself. So in other words, if your billable hourly rate to your clients, for example, is say $50 an hour, and you can outsource a task for $25 an hour, then outsourcing is the most efficient thing to do in that scenario. It would be fairly hard to justify spending twice as much money by doing it yourself. And there are a couple of pitfalls with this particular scenario. One is that most of us are quite modest, and we don't like to calculate perhaps our hourly rate. We don't really know how much our time is worth. And the second is, we may think, well, yes, even if I can get it done more cheaply, I'm only going to be sitting here anyway, so I might as well do it myself. Well, I think if you are strict with yourself about really valuing your time, and you respect your time and treat it as the valuable thing that it is, and even if you don't bill out your time, you work out what your hourly rate is. So you take your annual income, divide it by the number of hours that you work each year. You could be quite surprised of the sheer amount of times that you're sitting there plodding away on a task that you could save a considerable amount of time and money by outsourcing. So the second time to consider outsourcing is to think about what you are going to be able to achieve if you don't have to worry about this particular task that you're thinking about outsourcing. So forget all about hourly rates, forget about whether it's more efficient to outsource it, and just ask yourself this one question. If I outsource this task, would it allow me to do something with more impact? Would it allow me to do something more valuable with the time I'm going to get back? So the classic example is I'm sitting there on a morning doing my bookkeeping for 3 hours. But actually, if I outsource my bookkeeping, perhaps I could sit there and spend 3 hours reinvigorating my marketing. And I'm pretty sure that if I spent 3 hours reinvigorating my marketing, that would have a far greater impact than me doing my bookkeeping. So think about the impact of what you would be able to do if you weren't chained to your desk doing the task that you could outsource. If the impact is greater, then outsource the task that's in front of you. The third time to outsource is when you do not have the skills required in order to do the task. Now, there's a pitfall, again, with this one, which is a lot of us are not particularly honest with ourselves about what skills we possess. So I'll quite often sit struggling with something, thinking, well, I should be able to do this. I should know how to do this. The reality is, I could get things done far more quickly and far more efficiently if I accepted my weaknesses and said, well, I don't really have the skills to do this task well, so I'm going to outsource it. There are lots of people out there that you can outsource to, including many, many virtual assistants who have really incredible skill levels. And it's our advantage to be able to sit there as business owners, entrepreneurs and professionals and say, hey, you know what, I'm not good enough at this task, I'm going to outsource it. So there you have it, 3 simple tips on when to outsource. So the first is when you can get something done more cheaply than your hourly rate, but the pitfall is you need to work out what your hourly rate really is. The second is if you could do something with far greater impact if you weren't stuck on the task that you're thinking about outsourcing. And if you can, then get rid of the stuff in the way of creating an impact. And the third is if you're struggling with a task because you really, if you're honest with yourself, don't have the skills to do that task, then get rid of it and outsource it. So I hope those are helpful. I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments on this, so please post below if you have any, and I'll upload another video soon. Bye for now.